Hey, truth seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It's Saturday, May 27th, 2017, the 147th day of the year. Today, Henry Kissinger turns 94 years old. A couple weeks back, I said to watch for Henry Kissinger's 94th birthday right after the firing of James Comey when Kissinger and Trump met. And now, the night before Kissinger turned 94, Zbigniew Brzezinski, the man who became National Security Advisor after Kissinger, has dropped dead. And this is not coincidental. This is what murder by numbers is. Henry Kissinger, one of the biggest killers in the history of the world, and even at age 94, ritual sacrifices being made for his life. So, let's begin with this man dying at age 89 on May 26th. He died the night before Kissinger turned 94, which I told people to watch out for weeks ago. The video's still up. Zbigniew Brzezinski died in Virginia, just outside of Washington, D.C., where he spent the majority of his life. Dying at 89 in Virginia is fitting. In the language of gematria, Virginia sums to 89. 89, the 11th Fibonacci number, coming before 144, the Fibonacci numbers associated with phi, the golden ratio, God's mathematical spiral. They said he died at the Inova Fairfax Hospital. What stood out about this hospital is the gematria of 314, a lot like pi, having to do with cycles and circles like life and death, but also the 226. This is a number very heavily connected to 93. He died on the last day of Henry Kissinger being 93 years old. Also, this man was National Security Advisor to Jimmy Carter, who's about to turn 93, and who we will likely see die at age 93, just like Reagan, who came after Carter. Remember, Henry Kissinger was National Security Advisor for Nixon and Ford. Then when Jimmy Carter came in as the 39th president, Brzezinski replaced Kissinger. And then after Carter, at the end of the 444-day Iranian hostage crisis, we got Ronald Reagan, who went on to pass at age 93. So anyhow, 226 connected to 93 as well as national security. Again, this man was National Security Advisor. Where he died, the hospital, it's in Falls Church, Virginia, or Falls Church, VA. The mailing address has the gematria of 134, a number we've been looking at in a big way with Donald Trump, with our eyes set on June 3rd. There's a lot of 134 coded around Trump. Jared Kushner, who's been getting a lot of scrutiny, gematria of 134. Make America Great Again, 134. Melania, 134. A woman who seems like she wants nothing to do with her supposed husband. But as I've been explaining, these presidents, they're in arranged marriages, which are all part of the ritual of their rigged office they eventually hold. Melania Trump is only with Donald Trump because of whatever goes on amongst these elites in the shadows. This isn't some marriage out of love. These are two people who were joined for the rigged selection of Donald Trump, something I've covered again and again. Remember, Melania's birthday is April 26th. April 26, 2016, Donald Trump gave what he called his victory speech. His victory speech on Melania's birthday. That was 197 days before election, or more like selection day for the 45th president. 197 is the 45th prime. And it's not arbitrary that that came on the same day as Melania's birthday. The word impeach also has gematria of 134, like the show House of Cards. Remember, the president's name in House of Cards, Underwood, sums to the same thing in gematria as the name Trump. And think about House of Cards, Trump card. The date June 3rd, which we're looking at for Trump, and a big headline, also has the gematria of 134. The phrase, "you're fired," has gematria of 63. They continue to link JFK and Trump, Melania Trump and Jackie Kennedy. Think about how JFK was assassinated in 63. And all of these events in history rigged by the numbers. JFK assassination equals 187. He died in the 187th year of the nation's existence. JFK assassination also equals 1122. He died on 1122 in the middle of Dealey Plaza, named after the 33rd degree Freemason. Also, more recently, Donald Trump traveled to Israel for Jerusalem Day. They've been jokingly calling Donald Trump the first Jewish president. Look at Israel's leader, Netanyahu, 134. Jerusalem Day, where Donald Trump was, in Jerusalem for Jerusalem Day, 134. Again, the Jewish faith has the day of remembrance known as Tisha B'Av, the Jewish name, or the English name, 9th of Av, both Tisha B'Av and 9th of Av, summed to 134, to remember the destruction of the two temples, Solomon's temple and Herod's temple, supposedly destroyed on the same date in history. In Jewish gematria, Tisha B'Av equals 911, like the date we remember for the destruction of the two towers. Remember, the Israelis were arrested in New Jersey and sent back to Israel. They said that they were in America to document the September 11th attack, meaning people in Israel had foreknowledge. All the attackers were from Saudi Arabia. People from Israel here to document our allies in the Middle East. You see? We use our allies to stage the chaos so that we can create the, solution, which is war with nations that are Israel's enemies, such as Afghanistan and Iraq. So, to get back on track, Falls Church, Virginia has the 134 gematria where this man passed, number that we keep seeing put before us. Falls Church also has the gematria of 666, number of the beast, like Kissinger. If you read Revelation 13:18, the verse about 666, it begins, "Here is wisdom, period," which has gematria of 147. In Revelation, it says the beast, 666, rules for 42 months. 42 months has that gematria. Been talking a lot about this. 147, Henry Kissinger, born on May 27th, the 147th day of the year. Him turning 94, which has gematria of 147. Now the night before his 94th birthday, the death of the National Security Advisor who filled in for him. You see this? All of these things sum to 147. 94, Freemason, conspiracy, U.S. President, President of the United States. At the White House, there's 147 windows. And of course, that town was built for George Washington, the 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason, whose face is on the $1 bill. $1, 147. 50 states, 147. 4th of July, 147. Think about France, another Masonic nation. Bastille Day is 14/7. 4th of July, 147. America's 147. Vertebrae. All comes back to the 33 vertebrae in our back. Masonry, obsessed with 33, very special number. Masonry equals 33, secrecy 33, order 33, federal 33, people 33, person 33, society 33. Freemasonry, it's all about knowledge, and, the analogy is traveling up the human's 33 vertebrae to reach the mind, the pineal gland. The word skull and pineal, both 33. The home row of your keyboard, or the spine of the keyboard. A, S, D, F, G, H, J, K, L sums to 33. So it's not arbitrary that all of these numbers are 147. The Freemasons are builders. The master builder number is 22. Master builder equals 147. Viral image on Facebook, Y22, about the May 22nd and March 22nd false flags in the UK. May 22nd, the 22nd day of the month. They said a 22-year-old bomber killed 22 people. Special numbers used again and again. Oslo and elsewhere. World Series has the gematria of 147. Last year when the Cubs won their 94th game, I pointed out, I said, this game confirms that the Cubs will win the World Series in Game 7. Miguel Montero will be connected to the winning score, and all of that happened. The Cubs won in Game 7. Miguel Montero connected to the winning run, just like he knocked in the winning run for the 94th game. He wore the number 47, and the Cubs won their 94th game 47 days before what would be Game 7 of the 112th World Series on 11/2. Sports are scripted, your news is scripted, and it's all done by this numerical code because it's all Freemasonry. Again, outer space, spaceship, both 147, whole lot of 147 in the history of the space program. And it's all about this story, this man dying the night before Kissinger's 94th birthday. Henry Kissinger was born in Bavaria on the 147th day of the year, 147 years after the Bavarian Illuminati was established, which was May 1st, 1776, just before the American Revolution, just before the French Revolution. So here's what they write about the man who died. Zbigniew Brzezinski, the hawkish strategic theorist who was national security advisor to President Jimmy Carter in the tumultuous years of the Iran hostage crisis and the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in the late 70s, died on Friday at a hospital in Virginia. He was 89. And again, Virginia, 89. His death at Inova Fairfax Hospital in Falls Church was announced on Friday by his daughter, Mika Brzezinski, a co-host of the MSNBC program Morning Joe. And don't people ever just think about these things, how all of these people in the spotlight, it's like their whole family's on TV? We are ruled over by a network, and it is so obvious, and people just want to shrug their shoulders at it. Everyone's name on TV's Jewish, and they just want to shrug their shoulders at it. You know, like Kissinger. Like his predecessor, Henry A. Kissinger, Mr. Brzezinski was foreign-born scholar. He in Poland, Mr. Kissinger in Germany. And do you know why these men aren't American? Because the United States of America is not a sovereign nation. It's a nation that's always been run by Jewish bankers from Europe. A slave state. That's all the U.S. has ever been. You know? All these people who wear shirts like the answer to 1984 is 1776, these are people who don't have a clue. The answer to 1984 certainly isn't 1776. What's 17 plus 76? 93? The number of the Jews? This a ritual on Kissinger's last day of being 93 years old? So many people that think they're truth speakers, they don't have a clue about anything. I mean, to think that the United States of America was great in 1776, how fucking retarded do you gotta be? How fucking retarded do you gotta be? You think that the country that began out of a genocide and slavery and war was great back then? That's where we're going back to, morons. Get tired of how stupid people are. I mean, how the fuck could you think that things were good in 1776? They wrote the Constitution. Who was free in the time of the Constitution? Wealthy Jews? No one else? Pretty much. Let's continue. With considerable influence in global affairs, both before and long after his official tour of duty in the White House, in essays, interviews, and television appearances over the decades, he cast a sharp eye on 6 successive administrations, including that of Donald J. Trump, whose election he did not support and whose foreign policy he found lacked coherence. I remember Donald Trump when he was campaigning, he was asked, I think it was CBS, 60 Minutes, what he would do on the military front. And he laughed and he said, well, I think I'll watch some of my favorite military films and, use that for inspiration. And I just thought, oh my God, this is the man that's the front runner for the Republican Party that has a chance of becoming president of the United States. He just said he's going to watch some Hollywood movies. Again, to be an American and to not see what's going on, you just got to be a fucking retard. And that's why so many people who think that they figured out the truth are going around wearing t-shirts like, the answer to 1984 is 1776. By the way, United States of America equals 84. Like masonry, like secrecy. Mr. Brzezinski was nominally a Democrat with views that led him to speak out, for example, against the greed, as he put it, of an American system that compounded inequality. He was one of the few foreign policy experts to warn against the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Well, I'll tell you who else warned against that. Me. Very clear to see. You know, I was just saying back then, I was like, wait a minute. So September 11th, all the hijackers are from Saudi Arabia. They arrested some dudes in Israel. These are our allies. And we're going to invade Afghanistan and Iraq. This doesn't make any sense. And I don't know how it could have made sense to anyone. Again, you'd have to be a fucking moron, which is pretty much all you have in the United States of America. It is truly hard to find anyone who was not brain dead fucking retarded in this nation. Almost impossible. Almost impossible. So they talk about how he oversaw the 444-day Iranian hostage crisis. And if you don't know that story, you know, it's the one that makes Ronald Reagan, the Hollywood actor, look like a hero. On his first day of office, he was able to end the crisis. I mean, just think about it. The sitting president, he couldn't figure it out, you know. He couldn't figure it out for 444 days, but Ronald Reagan, the Hollywood actor, you know, who's played a hero before, he comes in and just in hours, it's over. 444 days, not an arbitrary number that is a major tribute to the Freemasons, just like all these numbers are. And don't forget, the Iranian hostage crisis began on a date with 113 numerology as well as 94. We talked about how 94 connects to President of the United States. 113, the number of mainstream deception. Mainstream 113, dishonest 113, not true 113. The name James Carter, the birth name for Jimmy Carter, also 113. And it began on his term. So talking more about Brzezinski, but in at least one respect, his rigid hatred of the Soviet Union. He had stood to the right of many Republicans, including Mr. Kissinger and President Richard M. Nixon. And during his 4 years under Mr. Carter, beginning in '77, thwarting Soviet expansion at any cost guided much of American foreign policy for better or worse. So all part of the roots of how Al-Qaeda was supposedly established, which led to September 11th. I mean, just look at the history we're given. It's like the U.S. has a hand in everything. And it all comes full circle. And you notice how in all of these news stories, Richard Nixon gets mentioned, who was impeached or who resigned because of the impeachment. Again, Donald Trump fired Comey on the anniversary of the impeachment hearings beginning, May 9th, 1974. 43 years later, Richard equals 43. Wiretap equals 43. Remember the whole wiretapping story by the numbers earlier this year? I said then, these are all signs of the big puppet show we're living out by the numbers. A little more on Brzezinski. He supported billions in military aid for Islamic militants fighting invading Soviet troops in Afghanistan. He tactically encouraged China to continue backing the murderous regime of Pol Pot in Cambodia, lest the Soviet-backed Vietnamese take over the country. Notice Pol Pot, 94, bringing us right back to 147. All throughout the world, our government uses money to create these little threats, these little terrorist groups, so that then they can say, oh, there's a bad guy we need to go over there and smack with our fly swatter, or our $50 million missiles, or whatever it is. Just all throughout the world. This is what it is in the U.S. If you're someone who works and pays taxes, all of your tax money goes to this tyranny. That's why I quit working in 2012. And I wanted to do it long before that. I saw what it was back in 2001 when September 11th happened. But, you know, a lot of us, we're slaves to money. We have to pay the bills. But that's why I recommend people figure out how to save, figure out how to minimize, figure out how to make it so you have to work as little as possible, pay as little as possible in taxes. A lot of you get over your materialism, your wasteful spending. You can figure out how to do what I'm doing. So I'll link this article if you want to read more about Mr. Brzezinski. In this article about him, isn't it so interesting that they stick this photo in here? Look who's front and center, Henry Kissinger. It's supposed to be an article about the death of Mr. Brzezinski, who's back over here. First person you see in this picture, Henry Kissinger. And again, this is what it's all about. This man is dead for Henry Kissinger, the biggest Jew killer in the history of the world. The synagogue of Satan, the filth. So there it was. May 26th, the night of this man's death, the last day Kissinger was 93. Everything about the false Jew nation Israel is 93, drawn up on September 3rd, 47. Also, interesting, Brzezinski, he just turned 89 March 28th. He died 56 days, or excuse me, not 56, he died 59 days after his birthday. 59, the kill number in Jewish gematria. Killed the night before Kissinger turns 94. He was also born on a date, March 28th, 1928, with 59 numerology. The last name Brzezinski, the way it's spelled, has the same gematria as Freemasonry, 58 and 139. Again, all of these people are connected. Washington, D.C., the headquarters of the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, headquarters of the federal government. And again, Washington, D.C., named after a 33rd degree Scottish Rite Freemason. This man's full name also has gematria of 163, like Make America Great Again. We're coming up on some big Trump headlines. He's not going to be the president for long. So last piece, Jimmy Carter, about to turn 93 later this year. Pretty sure we're going to see Jimmy pass at 93, and here's why. First, just acknowledge his birthday, October 1st, 1/10, October the 10th month. If you write it 1/10, that's a lot like 110. President equals 110. Perfect birthday for a president. His birth numerology is 54, just like the name Jimmy Carter's 54. 54 and 93 go together like peas in a pod. Sun equals 54. They tell us the sun is 93 million miles away. Special numbers to the occult religion Thelema, which has a lot to do with Zionist Israel. 54 and 93. This death comes 237 days after Jimmy Carter's 92nd birthday, or 33 weeks and 6 days. 237 has that backhand to 42, number of Freemasonry. Some people say that Jimmy Carter is really John F. Kennedy. And I'm not sure about that, but it is possible. Quite certain that JFK never died, all part of the theater show. Your first handsome president for TV. Dead in the middle of Dealey Plaza by the numbers. 33rd degree Freemason. Again, JFK assassination equals 187 and 1122. Dead in the 187th year of the nation's existence. Check it out. JFK assassination, 187. George Washington, 187. Washington, D.C., 187. Ancient accepted Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, 187. Headquarters in Washington, D.C. Also, D.C. used to be the Catholic colony. Notice Catholics 35 and 46. JFK, the 35th president, dead at 46. Society of Jesus is the official name of the Jesuit order. And where D.C. used to be the Catholic colony. Notice Society of Jesus is also 187. Trump is a Jesuit. The Pope right now is the first publicly Jesuit Pope. From Trump's birthday to the Pope's birthday, 187 days. So anyhow, Jimmy Carter, his birth numerology also has that connection to 35. I find that interesting. Entirely possible that, Jimmy Carter, just a made up personality to, play president. Just like Donald Trump, recreated name for his family. They were originally the Drumpf family. Get a lot of puppets and agents in this country. A lot of shenanigans going on behind the scenes and everything. It all comes back to the numbers. What's coded into these people, what's coded into their birthdays. Covered this a million times before. So I think that's all, Truth Seeker. Been doing a lot of work on Donald Trump and all the scripting by the numbers. I mean, look at this. Donald Trump announced as the president November 9th, the anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Berlin Wall 45, Donald Trump number 45. Notice Berlin Wall is also June 63, kind of like June 3rd. Might see Donald Trump, who ran on the wall. We might see it all come to an end. June 3rd. Again, he's the winner of the 58th presidential election, Humpty Dumpty 58. He announced he was running from the 58-story Trump Tower. Inauguration day on a date with 58 numerology, Freemasonry 58, Secret Society 58, Rosicrucian 58, Rose Cross 58, Solomon's Temple 58. All things important to Masonry. But right after the selection of Trump on 11/9, this story about 119 Jacob sheep going back to Israel. We just saw Donald Trump meet with Francis at the Vatican, the Catholic Church created by the false Jews. Master plan, all-seeing eye, Star of David, Donald, 119, Donald Trump, in Israel for Jerusalem Day. See, Truth Seeker? I'll link all these posts. You can read this information in case you missed any of this stuff I covered recently. What people need to know. This concludes the latest example of murder by numbers. It's hard to feel sorry for any of these goons, though. All of these people are killers with lots of blood on their hands, lots of lies on their hands. But again, no one a bigger killer in the history of this world still living than Henry Kissinger. And even for his 94th birthday, they have to deliver the body of the man who replaced him. Next time somebody sticks up for the Jews, just remember, that person is a fucking moron. A fucking sellout to themselves. These Zionist Jews are the worst filth there ever was. Period. Until next time.